Hey, can everybody hear me? If you can let me know in the chat, that would be helpful. And we'll go ahead and get started. Oh, good. I think you can hear me. Perfect. Awesome. So we're going to go ahead and get started. My name is Lisa Malvin. I'm the Assistant Director for Professional Development Programs here at the University of Chicago Graham School. And before we get started, I'll give you a little bit of technical support. I am running this webinar, so usually I'm sitting on here and I can help if you have tech problems. Today, I probably cannot help as much, but if you're having tech problems or anything, you can go ahead and send me a chat message. It's kind of hard to see the chat while I'm talking, so I'll ask that you leave your questions to the end, and hopefully I'll be able to get to those. But otherwise, if you're having tech problems, my colleague Tyron is available, so you can always send a message, and one of us should be able to help you out. Hopefully we won't have any tech problems. At any point, I'm gonna leave you guys all on mute to make sure that we don't get any echo while we're going through this. You don't need to take yourself off mute at any point. If you wanna ask a question at the end, you can ask it or you can use the chat to chat it. And also I turned off most of your videos because most of the time people do not like to see their faces on the screen, myself included, so I will be turning off my video so that you don't watch me present as I present. If you want to turn it off, you just go to the stop video button at the bottom and it will turn off your video. So if you're fine with it on, great. If not, you can go ahead and turn off your video so that nobody can see you. Otherwise, we are going to go ahead and get started. So this webinar is called Career Outcomes, How to Make the Most of Your Certificate Program. And as I said, I'll leave time for questions at the end. So write them down and we can get to them later. So the main question people always want to know about coming to the Graham Schools, why would you choose to pursue a certificate versus like a master's degree? So certificates are the fastest growing post-secondary credential and second only to bachelor's degrees in the number earned each year. That data is a little bit old, but continuing education is definitely booming in the United States and abroad, and certificates are a great way to get a subject matter knowledge without having to commit to a full-time master's degree. Certificates are relatively inexpensive and they provide training in a very specific subject matter areas, as you will find based on the certificates that we offer here. It also gives you an opportunity to explore a new field and provides a jumping off point to a new career. Let's say you want to learn something about editing, but you don't want to commit to a full master's degree in that area. Certificate's a great way to try out your skills or to learn a new skill that you can apply to your job the very next day. And it's a great way to extend your learning beyond the workplace. In our programs, we have a lot of students who are working full-time, who just want to learn a very specific skill set, who are interested in furthering their knowledge. So certificates are a really great way to do that. A lot of questions I get revolve around what employers think of certificates, and my short answer is they like them. Employers appreciate when employees pursue additional educational opportunities and take initiative and do professional development opportunities. Sometimes they provide funding for your certificate, so it's always good to ask if you're thinking about pursuing any kind of additional education. Ask your employer if they would be willing to fund it for you. And certificates can often increase your earning power. I've definitely had students who do a certificate and then get promotions in their fields. And I included a note that I get. I usually get job postings a lot of the time from employers who are looking to hire straight out of our certificates. So I definitely promote those to our student population. So it's a benefit also of being part of a certificate program, is that you do get access to some job opportunities. Who chooses to pursue a certificate? My answer is everyone can. We have a ton of non-traditional students. We range in age. I always say that each certificate has its own unique population and personality, and you could definitely ask me in particular whether the certificate you're interested in has a specific age range or anything. Really, we range in age from literally 21 to like 80. It's a very, very big age range. We have people from all walks of life. The only prerequisite is a bachelor's degree, but other than that, we have students who just out of college to students who are retired, who are looking to go into freelancing or create another source of income in their retirement. Our three main areas that we have are career launchers, and those are the students maybe that are just out of college or who are trying to have launched a career in something completely different and then want to switch. Their career changers would be those students who have done a career in something for a long time and then want to switch over into something else, and the certificate is a really good jumping off point to do that. And then we have the career advancers who maybe are really enjoying the career that they're in, but they want to gain some knowledge, or maybe they've never had educational training in that capacity, and they want to learn some more information and get some specific skills. And all of our students have very professional goals. A lot of them are using this for a very specific purpose. A lot of them maybe want to go to get a master's degree, but they want to get a certificate first to see what it's like working and pursuing education at the same time, or maybe they just want a prep course to prepare themselves if they want to do an MBA or something like that. That's a very big population that we get a lot. And then I put a graph about our students' work experience, and as you can see, it's very varied. We have a lot of people who are just out of college, but then we also have a lot of people who have a ton of work experience. So it's a very good way to meet a lot of different people and to learn about, to even network with other students while you're pursuing the certificate. And more information about our student population itself. We do alumni surveys every year to determine, how our students are feeling about the program. This is from a satisfaction survey we sent out. And so, as you can see, most students are very happy with their experience as students, which is something that we're always looking for. And then I included a graph as well about primary motivation for students enrolling in their program. And we just have a lot of different reasons why people want to go and pursue a certificate, whether it's to change professions completely, whether it's to advance your career, your current career in your current workplace. And most people just want to increase their knowledge and skills, which you can do along with doing a bunch of other things. Now is probably why you're all here, is to talk about what you can do with each of these certificates. So I'm going to take them one by one. They might not all apply to you, but I will get to every program. I put them all in here this time around. So we'll start with clinical trials management. And clinical trials management there's just a lot of growth in this area right now. You're always going to need people who work in clinical research. It's always a growing industry, but it has really exploded in the past few years. Research now forecasts that the global clinical trial service market will reach more than $64 billion by 2020. So there's always opportunities. A lot of our clinical trial students, whether they have a background in research or not, tend to work in hospitals or in pharma or things like that. There's a really great outlook, and there's always jobs, I'd say, in clinical research. And it depends on what your background is and what you're looking to do. But the job market is really solid in this area. A lot of our students tend to start out as clinical research associates or clinical research coordinators, which is kind of the lowest level, and then work their way up, because there's a lot of varied jobs that you can do in this field. And some of them are included here. Potential employers are the pharma, and there's a decent amount in the Chicagoland area, AbbVie, Abbott, Takeda. A lot of people also work in hospitals or university hospitals. Even, again, in the Chicagoland area, we have UFC, Northwestern, Loyola, Rush. So there's a lot of different hospitals that people work at, and they hire a lot of clinical research coordinators. And then CROs, which would be like a site, like a Johnson & Johnson or any company that's doing some clinical trials on their own. There's a lot of opportunity to work there as well.
Can you please hear me? Can you please hear me?
Yes.
I am Khurram Faridi. Let me introduce myself. I am Khurram Faridi. I am here so that I could
hold on. Could you just save your questions to the end so that I can make sure that I get through this, and I will definitely take time for questions at the end.
Sorry?
Could you save your question for the end, and I will definitely get back to you, but I want to make sure that I get through all this.
Okay, ma'am, because your voice is not pretty clear. Now it is clear. I can hear it.
Okay, yeah, thank you. So as I was saying, so job titles, clinical research associates, clinical research coordinators, those are kind of the entry level. You could be a data manager, clinical research manager, or even just a research analyst. And I like to include the associations that are available for people who pursue this field. These are the biggest ones: the Association for Clinical Research Professionals, ACRP, and the Society for Clinical Research Associates, which is SOCRA. They do a lot of additional training as well, like you can be certified through one of these associations. And a lot of it's always helpful, I think, for students who are pursuing a new career to always join an association because they provide a lot of networking opportunities. A lot of them have conferences associated with their associations, and it's super helpful to join. They usually have fees to join, but sometimes you can get, you can save some money by saying you're a current student or things like that. And then there's another regulatory affairs professional society. There's always a bunch of different associations, but those definitely are the biggest. And then salary information, I think for entry-level jobs, it starts at about 50 to 70,000. And then as you move up, you can always make more money as you go. And I included some links, and I am recording this, and I'm also going to send out a PDF version of this, so you guys don't have to like scribble down notes intensely. I'll send it out afterwards. Data analytics. Data analytics is one of our newest certificate programs that we offer because we have a master's program in this area, and we definitely know that it's a very big area of interest for people. So data analytics is an interesting one because you can do a lot of different things. You can work in a variety of industries. So this is definitely one of the biggest growing areas in America. According to IBM, by 2020, the number of data science and analytics jobs are expected to grow by an absurd amount. So there's going to be about 2 million of these jobs. A good thing to know is, oh my God, you guys, could someone stop scribbling on the slides? Just make sure you don't do that because then everyone can see it. So just gonna, I don't even know how to delete that. I'm just going to keep going and hope that it goes away. There's a couple different markets for analytics. There's like analytics enabled jobs and data science jobs. And those are very different. If you're doing an analytics job, it's going to be very like HTML focused, focused on very specific like JavaScript, that kind of thing, versus data science is just a little bit more general. And in our program, we don't really go super deep into the topics. Okay. Okay, I'm just going to make sure that everybody's muted as well. Okay. And here's some potential employers. The good thing about analytics is you guys can work anywhere. You can work in marketing, you can work in finance, in insurance, in healthcare, because analytics is a very general skill to have. And you can really apply across any industry, which is very nice. I also included some associations. There's the Data Science Association, Association for Information Science and Technology, the Digital Analytics Association, all of that. And sometimes people ask me a lot if you want to pursue a master's in this. We can talk a little bit later about the differences between a master's program and a certificate program. But a master's program is definitely going to go way beyond what we teach in a certificate program. But if you're just looking for very specific skill set that you want to apply to work, or you don't want to go so deep into analytics, you just want to get maybe the basics and learn how to apply it to a business setting, a certificate's definitely going to be the way to go versus like a master's program where you're definitely going to go into much more detail and you're gonna be able to actually learn how, not so much coding, but like learning how to use those systems like Tableau and things like that. And then salary, this is a base salary, about 110,000, and it really ranges for analytics based on, what you're doing and what industry you're in, because different industries definitely have different salaries. So all of these information, I put a lot of links to like Glassdoor and Indeed and stuff like that. Let's see if I can just, erase this guy. Perfect. Okay, analytics. And I'll definitely open the floor for questions before I even move on to the next section. So save them and we will ask them. Digital marketing. So marketing is a very wide and encompassing field. We actually recently redesigned the curriculum so that it's focused more on the digital side of things versus the general marketing, because marketing is definitely moving into a very, very digital direction. Marketing includes things like advertising, promotions, and the area is expected to grow 10% in 10 years, which is great. There's definitely everything, as I say, is like moving in a very digital direction. You're doing online marketing, you're doing SEO kind of work. So it's an industry that has a lot of potential. The areas that is of specific focus is digital marketing, multi-channel marketing, working in combination, and then e-commerce obviously is very big. And digital spending is booming. And that's a good thing to know. So now, instead of offering just generic marketing classes, we actually have classes that focus on analytics and more how you use Google Analytics in the workplace, and how you combine some of that traditional marketing with a more digital focus. So that's kind of a way that we have adapted our certificate to meet the needs of this growing industry. Potential job titles, usually the lowest is probably an account coordinator, account manager, that's kind of the low level, and then you kind of move up in that way. Digital content manager is going to be somebody who's working mostly on the content side, SEO, search engine optimization, somebody who's working to make sure that your company is showing up on the first page of Google. Content strategists, digital brand managers, creative directors. You can work in graphic design, in marketing as well. Definitely there's jobs focused solely on like social media and things like that. And then you could be a community manager, and maybe you're working with clients. So there's just a lot of things that you can do in marketing, and you don't have to know what you want to do now. It's very easy to kind of move around and change, and people work together. Like the digital ad buys is definitely going to talk to somebody who's doing PR to see, how you're making, how you're approaching the market from different perspectives. And associations, the American Marketing Association is definitely the biggest, and it's based in Chicago. So I recommend that most students join it because they have their own conference and they have a lot of events that they do, whether that's like, webinars weekly or whether it's like actual networking events, but they're a very, very big association. And it's a good thing to definitely join one. And then there's some other ones that I put down here as well. And sometimes there's specific associations based on your specific area. So it's always good to look out and see what is available. The average base salary could be about $130,000, but entry-level jobs are going to be starting anywhere from $50,000 to $70,000 as well. Editing. Editing is definitely one of our most popular certificates, and it is something that's very particular. People are very interested in going into this field. The interesting thing about editing is it's not really going to grow so much in 10 years, which is not surprising because of the way print media is kind of being phased out and moving to a lot of online publications. It's an interesting thing to note. It's something I always talk about when I'm talking to students who are interested in editing is there's definitely jobs in editing. There might not be the traditional jobs that you're used to, whether that's like working for a publishing house or something like that. That might be a bit harder to get into just because there's not as many anymore. A lot of them are based out of New York. And it's kind of hard to do straight traditional editing or publishing, but that doesn't mean that there's not a lot of opportunities in this field. You just have to be a little bit more creative about what you want to do. And we can talk a little bit about that, whether that's working with freelance authors. A lot of editors work with them because if they're self-publishing, they definitely need a lot of help. Or working in a university publisher and an educational publisher. There's a lot of opportunities that you can do that's just a little bit different than the traditional publishing, the way it used to be, 10 or 20 years ago. So even though traditional publishing isn't as big, the demand for editors is still expected to go up with a lot of jobs because editors can work in any industry as well. Like data analytics, you can be an editor in finance. You can be a copy editor in marketing. So there's just a lot of things that you can do with this knowledge. So a lot of editors are choosing to pursue freelance work, and that is definitely a large percentage of who takes our certificate program. We even have classes dedicated to freelance work because so many people are interested in that because you can make your own schedule. It does involve a lot of hustling and trying to get your own clients, but the people who do it well definitely enjoy it because it's a more flexible option. So here are potential job titles. If you're in traditional publishing, they definitely have different roles depending on what you're interested in. Acquisitions works on acquiring books and acquiring like the rights to books, whether that's like international or what. Assignment editors or assistant and associate editors. Developmental editors, those people work more with authors and they try to shape the book or whatever piece they're working on, like completely versus a traditional copy editor would just work on, you know, the grammar and things like that. The developmental editor is definitely going to work more with the story and with the author to try to figure out how to put forth the best work possible. Editorial assistant's probably the most entry level of the positions here. And then managing editor would probably be one of the most advanced positions. And some associations, we work a lot with Chicago Women in Publishing. They're a Chicago-based organization, and they have a lot of events. So we partner with them on some things. They're a really good organization. Editorial Freelancers Association as well. They have really good resources. Like if you're a freelancer and you want to know what you should charge, what rates you should look at, they're really great for that. ACES, Society for Editing, and then there's a bunch for editing because there's very specific ones. The National Association of Writers and Editors is also one if you're interested in pursuing writing as well. The average salary for an editor is $58,000, but it varies by industry. Whether you're working in education or in marketing or something, your salary is definitely going to be impacted by the standard salary for that industry. Financial management and decision making. Like many other programs, the employment in this kind of business area is expected to grow 10% in 10 years, which is faster than the average for all occupations, which is great. Experts predict there'll be 12% more financial analyst jobs in 2024 than there were in 2014, which is great. And it has to do with a lot of different things like financial products, trading opportunities, the international trade market, and then analysts. So with finance, you can really do a bunch of different things. And a lot of people in our certificate do choose to do that. We teach things like financial accounting and corporate finance, but we also teach electives like securities and portfolios, things like that. So you can do a lot of different things with this certificate. A lot of people also with this certificate tend to pursue an MBA. They want to see if, you know, that this certificate might prepare them for an MBA, or they want to see if like they even want to pursue an MBA. So a lot of our students decide to go this route with the certificate program. Potential job titles include financial analyst, a portfolio manager, trader, and these are all very different jobs. And our certificate is definitely a little bit more general, so it kind of prepares you to do a lot of different things. Like acquisitions associate, research associate, there's a lot of things to do in finance. And then there's also associations like the Association for Financial Professionals, the American Finance Association, and as I mentioned, I definitely recommend joining an association, no matter what industry you're in. They're just really useful. The salary average is about $80,000 for this industry, and it always varies based on, you know, whether you're doing like hedge funds or whether you're a CPA or something like that. Medical writing and editing. So a lot of students decide, sometimes they do both editing or medical writing and editing, and sometimes they just want to be fairly particular in medical writing and editing. The employment of technical writers is projected to grow about 11%. This is definitely a very niche certificate and industry, but it is growing like crazy because you're always needing technical editors who are very particular about what they know. Many medical editors start out as medical writers. You can do both. We also have people who just want to do medical writing or people who just want to do medical editing, and you can definitely do both. It's helpful to have a background in science. You don't necessarily have to. That's another big question that I get from students is, do you need a background in science? And it is helpful if you to know the medical terminology, but if you don't have one, it is not impossible to start a career in this field. It'll be a little bit harder, but it's not impossible at all. You can definitely do it. There's a really strong need for strong verbal and written communication skills and attention to detail. And even for any editor, it's important to really have strong computer skills as well. So potential job titles here would be medical writer and editor, technical editor. You can be a content specialist and know the content and work for like a publication or something like that. Or there's a really specific track where you could be a regulatory writer or editor. The American Medical Writers Association, AMWA, is definitely one of the biggest associations, and I think I don't know if they're based out of here, out of Chicago, but they're a really big association, and they have a lot of like educational opportunities, and you can be certified through them, so they're a good association to join. The average salary for a medical writer is about $80,000 versus the medical editor salaries are a bit lower. And like I said, you can do both. You don't have to just pick one or the other. Sometimes people specialize in one or the other, but you don't have to. But it's sometimes unique to if you can do both or you just pick one or the other. And then project management. So project management is one of our more general certificates because you can be a project manager across a bunch of different fields. And it's helpful to know kind of everybody basically needs to know how to manage projects. So the employment in the management occupations is projected to grow by 8%, which is great. It's going to lead to a bunch of new jobs. And it's mostly because of like the formation of new organizations like startups and things like that, where people definitely need to know how to manage and how to meet deadlines and how to grow their business. And it's helpful. The skills you learn in project management will definitely help you in that area. Some potential job titles include like an implementation manager, stage manager, project coordinator, a straight up just project manager, anything. Sometimes people do project management like in HR because those kind of make sense. You can work in communication and be a project manager. You can really do a lot of things with the certificate. The biggest association I'd say is the PMI Institute, which is based in Chicago, and we work with them a lot. They certify us to give out PDUs, which are professional development units, and they have a big exam that most people who do our program do tend to get certified and become a PMI certified project manager because it's really well known in the industry. And currently our courses do kind of teach the things you'll need to know for the test. We don't teach towards the test, but we are developing a class that will teach and do to the test and will be like a test prep course. So that's coming actually soon, I think summer. So if that's something that you're interested in, we will have that. But a lot of people do decide to be PMI certified. And then the average salary for a project manager is about $80,000. So before I move on to the next section, I do want to open it up for specific questions about each program. And so if you have questions, I think it'll be easier to use a chat, but if you want to talk, you can. And I'll give you guys like 5 minutes and then we can move on to the next section about why pick the grad school. Let me know if you have any specific questions about any of these certificates. I know it's a lot to cover in a very short time. Open the chat at least so that I can see. Okay. I definitely am sharing the slides, so do not worry about that. Yes, I'm definitely going to share the slides. I will send this out to everybody. You'll receive like a marketing email that has this, and it has the recording as well. I will share that. Question, is there a certification for medical writers? I mean, our certificate is medical writers and editors, and there are separate, like AMWA, I think offers like certifications, which are different from certificates. Certifications are more for like, they'll test you. It's like and you have to renew it every few years. The benefit about doing a certificate is you don't need to renew it. It will be something you can put on your resume, and you don't have to ever come back and take additional classes. So you definitely can, and there are benefits to that as well. Yes, there is a new certificate on conscious leadership. I didn't put it in because it has not launched yet. So we haven't launched it yet, but it is launching. It's called Conscious Leadership and Team Management. It's a 2-course certificate program, an online certificate program. It is starting in March is our first class, and it's going to be a great certificate. I took a course that was a workshop version of it, and the focus is learning in the first class, you're going to learn how, it's really kind of for managers, but anybody who's an employee can take it as well. I think it's interesting for a variety of different people on whatever level you are, but it's definitely aimed at managers. So it's a focus on, the first class is going to focus on like, what kind of manager are you? In the class I took, we took the DISC assessment, which is kind of like half personality, half like It just determines like how you work, how you make decisions, and it's very helpful so that you kind of know what kind of leader you are. And the second class is going to be more on how do you become a more effective leader and how do you take that leadership qualities back to your team. So it's a really helpful, the good thing about the certificate is you can pack it onto any other certificate you use because it's definitely focusing on the more general leadership skills that everybody needs. Okay. And we are doing our own straight up info session just on it in February. So if you're really interested, the instructor is going to present and she's great. And I really recommend that you sign up for it. Can you still get registered for winter? Yeah, the thing about us as certificates is we follow the UChicago calendar, but we're not as like distinctive about where our classes start and end. A lot of our classes started in early January, but we start classes again, in like 6 weeks. Like classes are open. You can definitely look at our website for what's open. And if there's something that just started, you can ask us if there's still room. A lot of the classes have closed because we've reached capacity. But there's a lot of open classes for sure. We start classes like every week or so. There's usually something starting. So I just look on our schedule on our website to see what's still available. Can I speak to the types of online publications that work with editors and how online work with editors might be different than traditional publishing? It's interesting. So I will preface this by saying I am the career advisor for all the certificates, which we'll talk about later. I am more of a generalist though, because I've never worked in any of these industries except for marketing. I did work in marketing before I came here. So I can usually talk because I have been here a while and I know a lot about the certificates in the industries, but I am no expert. So I do want to make that clear. I always make that clear for anybody I meet with when we do resumes or cover letters or whatever, because we can do more general things. But I can try to talk about the types of online publications. I mean, I just think there's a lot of places that you can work. A lot of our students I mentioned the self-published authors because a lot of our students tend to work with those kinds of people because it's not the traditional route. If people are self-publishing, then they definitely need editors to help them with that. And there's a lot of online publication. There's a lot of online magazines. And you can definitely freelance with a lot of those. So there's websites you can go to look for freelance positions, and I'm happy to share that with you either privately. You can send me an email or at the end of the presentation. Do you know how employers view multiple certificates? I really think anytime you're pursuing, continuing education is what we do. And our goal at the Graham School is to have you continuously come back, because the skills that you learn here, you're going to be able to apply the next day to what you're doing at work. And employers value professional development and continuous learning opportunities, because then you're kind of getting the skills that you need to work and advance in your career. So a lot of people do multiple certificates. And a lot of them pair them in interesting ways. A lot of people do editing and medical writing. A lot of people do project management and marketing. I mean, there's just a lot of ways that you can pair them because the skills that you will learn will help you the next day in your work. Is there an online data analytics degree? We have our master's program is in person. Our data analytics certificate is completely online. We do not currently do scholarships for certificate programs. That we don't really do financial aid because our programs are non-credit. So you can't do the FAFSA or anything like that. Our courses are definitely less expensive than traditional UChicago classes, but we don't have scholarships right now. Yes, there is a certain amount of time which you must complete your certificate, and it's 3 years from your date of admission. And that's definitely enough time. And if you need an extension, we're pretty flexible about granting it, but most students complete within about a year to about 2 years. Yes, we have career advising, and I will talk about that actually. So let me go to the benefits section, and then we'll still have time for questions at the end. And you can definitely ask me whatever you want to ask me. We'll go on to the benefits because we have a lot of benefits for pursuing a certificate here. let me go on and then I'll come back to your questions. So as I said, we have a bunch of certificate programs, and this is kind of the breakdown of how we offer them. Online and in person, we do medical writing and editing and clinical trials. This is actually an old chart because we have started offering online courses in finance and marketing. We have the new conscious leadership certificate, so I will make that change actually before I send it out. But basically, most of our courses we offer online. The one that we offer completely in person is project management, even though we have an online component as well. Here is our program staff. Crean is our fearless leader. We are, as you can probably see, we are a very small staff of 3, and we deal with a lot of students and faculty. So this is kind of the breakdown by what we kind of handle. We're each responsible for different areas. I work with students and alumni primarily. Nicole works with faculty, and Crean works above us, so she does a bunch of different things. But we each take different programs. So if you're a student or you're going to become a student, you'll definitely deal with one of us at some point, because if you're in editing, you'll work with me. But if you're in clinical trials, Nicole will be your contact for like day-to-day things with your certificate. So something that we do is academic advising. So it's me. So I am always available to help you pick your courses or develop a course schedule. We publish our course schedule about 6 months in advance. I say sometimes a year in advance, but definitely 6 months so that you can plan out your schedule on what you want to take. If you maybe want to take a course in winter, but it's overlapping with another course, you can, see what one time it's being offered next so that you could plan out your schedule. And I'm happy to help plan out your schedule. And also, I can sometimes see what's being offered in the future that we haven't published on the website yet. So I can always help you, decide if you're interested in a couple, but you're not exactly sure when the dates will line up. I can help you with that. Most of our certificates, they have an actual, you have to take certain classes, but we always have electives, and I can, send you a syllabi and help you decide what you want to take. Our program information can all be found on our website, and we put the schedule so you can see the order in which we offer classes. Something that is unique to our program is we offer career advising. Not a lot of non-credit certificate programs do that, so it definitely makes our program unique. I meet with students Tuesdays, Thursdays, and Fridays. I'm available to meet in person, online, or via Zoom by phone. And I cover, as I said, I am a generalist, so I can do resume and cover letter reviews, mock interview prep, any job searching strategies, if you want to look at your LinkedIn, all that kind of thing. I can go a little bit more into detail depending, but I will not give you false information. So if I do not know something, I will probably tell you, and then I can connect you with either a current student or an alum or an instructor that can definitely go and do more of a deep dive. But I can do the more general stuff. And then there's some additional resources on UChicago Grad. They have some career information. Additionally, we offer a ton of other resources. We do a lot of events. We do a lot of webinars. You can look at our schedule. We have a bunch coming up. We do workshops. Sometimes they're career focused. Sometimes they're focused on a specific certificate. Sometimes they'll do something maybe just for clinical trials or just for marketing. And you can always see when they're coming up. And I always encourage students to attend. It's a great opportunity to network, and they're all free, and they're just really good opportunities to meet people and then also learn something outside the classroom. So we do a lot of things. We'll do happy hours every quarter, and we try to do a lot of networking because we want our students to feel, even though they might be taking online classes, that they're part of a community. And I have a link to all of our events. You can always look on our events page and search by all the programs or search just by your certificate and find specific events available to you. And we'll talk a little bit more about specific events coming up later, but we have a lot. I also am the contact for our Professional Development Student Advisory Board. We started this about 3 years ago to kind of get a real good connection with what our students want. I manage all the student information, but I wanted a straight line of connection to what the students actually think and what they want, what they're interested in. So right now we have 16 members across all certificate programs. It's composed of current students and alums. Members serve at least one academic year, but we have a lot of students who want to come back. So I've had students on my board who have served for 3 years, students who have served for 2. And usually we pick the new board in around the summer or like September, and we do interviews. So if you're interested in becoming a member of the board, you can talk to me about that once you're a current student. It's a really fun way. We only meet once a month, and it's a fun way to get involved. My student board plans a lot of really fun events, and their big event that they plan is the Career Day, which we do in May, and it's basically like a career fair for non-credit students. So it's awesome. I really love working with them. And then a benefit as well is we give you alumni benefits, and that's super unique to the University of Chicago, especially for non-credit students. So once you graduate, once you complete a program, you do get access to alumni benefits, and they include access to our alumni directory, access to the University of Chicago LinkedIn group. You can get access to affinity groups and alumni clubs, and they have a bunch of resources on the website. And once we send out your certificate, we give you a list of all the benefits you get. And there's just a lot of great resources. A lot of them you actually can use now, so I do suggest looking at what the alumni community offers and seeing if you can join any of these things now. But a lot of them you have to wait till you're an alum. But it's a really big benefit as well. And we'll talk, I think Tyron's going to talk a little bit about alumni scholarship. So before we get into admissions, I think there was some questions, and then I'll turn it over to Tyron to cover the admissions. Okay. Well done, Tyron. I just have.
This is Khurram. Can you please hear me?
Yes.
Ma'am, I am doing nowadays the course for the clinical trials and their regulatory compliance. And I am also planning to do the other course of medical writing and editing by this year. I am a qualified surgeon from Pakistan and a recent immigrant here, right? And what I am searching is that to step in the career as a healthcare professional. Do you think these certificates will help out?
Yeah, so let me get through the admissions, and then at the end we can come back, because I want to make sure that we only have 20 minutes left, so I want to get through the admissions piece of it, and then I can come back and answer some of these questions.
Okay.
And then there's some questions here that I'll also get back to at the end. Hey Tyron, do you want to do the admissions piece of it?
Okay.
Yeah. So if you want to, you can mute yourself.
Want to hear me?
Hey, yep, Tyron, we can hear you.
Perfect. So great. I wanted to introduce myself. My name is Tyron Harris. I am a assistant director of student recruitment and enrollment management here with the University of Chicago Graham School. I know that we have a lot of prospective students on this webinar, but we also have some alums and current students. So I'll talk from both points of view. So just briefly, I wanted to start with the application process. Of course, as you may already know, you need to have a bachelor's degree in order to qualify for admissions into the program. Now, in addition to your bachelor's degree, we ask that you upload an unofficial copy of your transcripts when applying to the program. We also ask that you provide a statement of purpose where it's at least 250 words, and you're just talking about all of the reasons why you want to pursue this program. You want to mention why you're passionate about that industry. You want to describe your educational and your professional background. Of course, you want to talk about what you hope to gain from your experience in the certificate program, and then also how you plan to utilize the skills that you gain in the program in your professional career. In addition to your unofficial transcripts and your statement of purpose, you should also provide or upload a current professional resume or CV. And finally, there is a $40 application fee. So to apply, it's really straightforward. You can go directly to our website, gram.uchicago.edu. Click on the program that you're interested in. You'll find more detailed information about the format, about the structure, cost, and you'll also see in maroon, UChicago maroon, you'll see that apply button that you can click on and start your application. But I do want to mention for anyone who's interested in just kind of getting a feel for the program and you want to test drive a class before you actually start or officially apply to the program, you can actually do so. You can take one course as long as it doesn't have a prerequisite before you actually apply to the program officially. So if that's something that you're interested in, that's another option that is available to all of our applicants. I also want to mention, I know there was a question about scholarships. So although there isn't a scholarship that's primarily for new applicants, we do have a alumni scholarship program. And this is for the alums of all of Graham's certificate programs, except for the essentials of project management. So let's say that you complete the project management strategy certificate or the medical editing and writing certificate, and you want to come back and pursue the marketing certificate or the data analytics certificate, you can actually do so and receive a 20% tuition scholarship off of the cost of the course or the cost of the entire program. So again, that scholarship is for alums of a prior certificate, and you can use that on any single certificate course, or you can use that on any additional full certificate program. So if that's something that you're interested in, you can always reach out to our admissions team, not only to find out more about that scholarship, but just to find out more about the admissions process to each certificate. You can give us a call. So Andrea Dothart, she handles our medical writing and editing, our clinical trials, and digital marketing, as well as editing certificates. And then we have Charles Barkley, who manages our data analytics for business professional certificate. And then myself, I manage our conscious leadership and team management, project management, and financial decision-making certificate. So we would love to hear from you. We would love to maybe have coffee to talk about the program. We of course, we do this often. We love discussing the outcomes and the learning objectives of each certificate. Actually, Andrea and I are alums of the certificate programs. Charles is pursuing our data analytics certificate this coming February. So we are really familiar, and again, we love talking about the opportunities that you have here at Graham with our certificate programs. Now, I also want to mention some of the upcoming events that we have, and these are just a few, but if you go to gram.uchicago.edu, then click on events, you could find a host of events that either relates directly to a program that you're interested in, or maybe to a subject matter that you're interested in. So we do have a course preview that's coming up, which is on the brand experience. So that takes place January 17th. And if you're interested, we ask that you go to our website and RSVP. We have a cyber security panel discussion event that is, again, that's on January 30th. It takes place in the evening from 6 p.m. to 7:30 p.m. and it's led by Nate Evans, who is a lead cyber analyst for Argonne National Laboratory. So he will talk about his experience of protecting Argonne National Laboratory and the data related to health there, and he'll discuss how that translates across all industries. And then finally, we have an amazing open house event that's open to anyone who's interested in our certificates and our master's programs here at the Graham School. This is a grand event. There will be refreshments. There will be sections for each program that we offer where an alum, an instructor, and of course, all of our program staff members will be there. So you can talk to someone who has been through the program, who's currently in the program, and of course, to instructors who manage the program and manage the classroom experience. So we would love to see you all RSVP for the events that you see here, and of course, going to our website, RSVP for other events that spark your interest. So thank you so much for your time today. We definitely want to open the chat room back for questions. And again, Lisa and I, we really appreciate your time today.
Great. Thank you, Tyron. Yep, so we have about 10 minutes, and we'll probably stay a little after if everybody has questions, but I'm happy to answer whatever questions you have, and thanks so much for attending. As I mentioned, I'll send out the slides and the recording, and I'm going to also put my email here in case you want to email me. I'm happy to answer any questions offline or whatever. Question, is admission to certificate programs competitive or are most applicants accepted? We basically, if we think that you're a good fit for the program and we understand your reasoning for applying, then like, yes, you're going to get in. The thing about certificates is we're definitely more open than master's programs, and we're more flexible in some ways. So if you have like a very good reason for applying and you tell us what that is and you want to take classes, then yes, you're going to get in. I mean, there's definitely been cases where if we think you're applying to the wrong program or we don't think that it's the right fit for you, you will work with our admissions staff to figure that out. But most of the time, please come and enjoy our certificate programs. And you can take one-off classes as well if that's something that you're interested in. What courses have prereqs? A lot of the more advanced courses in all certificates have prereqs. So for clinical trials, I think, which is what you're in, like you need to take like clinical practices or drug development before you go on. We're kind of flexible sometimes depending on your experience. So if you have a good reason why you want to bypass something because it's being offered right now and you don't want to wait, you can always ask me. Sometimes I'll say no, sometimes I will say yes, depending on what your background is. But like for editing, you have to take basic first because everything builds on each other. So if you take one out of order, well, we won't really let you take them out of order. We try not to let you. But if you do, you won't have the best experience. The reason we put prereqs sometimes is so that you take them in the right order. Like for finance, you need to take financial accounting first because that's the baseline for everything else. For project management, so we have two programs, Essentials of Project Management and Project Management Strategy. So for Essentials, you can either do the one online program or you could take two in person. So you should do idea to completion and then making projects work. And then if you're doing strategy, it's helpful to start with idea to completion first because it kind of sets the baseline for like the terminology that you're going to use. I mentioned a list of sites for freelance. Yeah, if you actually want to email me, I can send you out a link. Most of them are like the Freelancer, Elance is a good one, Upwork. Those are kind of like the main sites I would recommend. And you can also look at an association like the Editorial Freelance Association because they definitely have lists of like good websites to use to find jobs. If you took Essentials 2PM in your MBA, should I go directly to strategy? Yeah, I mean, you're also welcome to talk to me or Tyron about what makes sense for you. If you have a decent amount of experience, then you probably can bypass idea to completion and just do making projects work.
Can we ask question now?
Yeah. But I'm also doing the chat. So it might be helpful if you want to chat it, but yeah, you can ask a question.
My question is that I am a recent immigrant from Pakistan. There I was working as a faculty in the Department of Surgery. I was an assistant professor there. As I was surgeon. And now I have opted, because I'm an old graduate and it is tough for me to get a residency here. So I have opted for this clinical trials and regulatory compliance course. And I am planning for medical writing and editing course also. I'm asking, as a beginner, these two courses alone or in combo, will be they of benefit for me or not?
I mean, again, that's like, it's a hard question because I can't, so for me, it's hard to determine like, will you do the certificate program and then will it guarantee you a job? I can never guarantee that because there's just no way to guarantee it. I do think it will help you learn the skills that you need to learn to land a job, but getting a job depends on a variety of things. It depends on your background, your education, what you're trying to go into. So I never, even when I do advising with students directly, I can't guarantee you a job. We're not job placement. What we can do is we can help you figure out like exactly what you want to focus on. I can help get your resume and cover letter in gear to figure out, you know, how you apply. We could talk through informational interviews and what I think you should do. So for everybody, I'll never guarantee that we'll get you a job, but I think a certificate definitely sets you apart. But it always depends on what you're coming in with. You know, like if somebody has a background, I do for clinical trials have a lot of people who have PhDs, who have MDs, who want to go and get a job. And sometimes they have an advantage, sometimes they don't. It just depends on where you're trying to get hired, what your educational background is. And
I'm talking about just as a beginner, just that's in the beginning of the program you said, hello?
Yeah, I can hear you.
At the beginning of the program you said that the clinical trials and management course, they can get you a job, entry-level jobs like CROs and CRAs. I'm talking about these type of things. So
yeah, well, as I said, we don't guarantee, but like these are the kind of jobs we do prepare you for. But it depends, again, on your background and what you're trying to do. And just like, you know, your personal situation, you know, it always depends. But these are the kind of jobs that, yes, a certificate program will prepare you for.
Okay, so these are the what do you say that the chances of the job for like CROs and CRAs as compared to those who have not done this course, they are higher, right?
I mean, we'd like to say that. I mean, definitely at the university, they know our certificate, so they definitely sometimes put it in their job postings that they prefer if people applying have the certificate. But like other places, I mean, you're asking how widely known certificates are. The University of Chicago obviously is a great brand, which is a very helpful. It's definitely a benefit to coming here is having a University of Chicago on your resume. That definitely sets you apart. So I'm not going to guarantee it, but again, it probably is more likely because you're earning the skills that you need to do to, you know, advance and get a position. So, but like, you know, if you come back and be like, I couldn't get a job, you know, that's why I'll never guarantee it, but we can help you to get where you need to go.
Yeah, that's the thing that if I'll after once I complete the course, I'll be needing your help so that I could get myself adjusting yourself. I'm not saying that you must let me adjust it because this is not possible and this will not be a good thinking from my part that you must adjust me up, but I'll definitely try to seek your help so that I could help myself and let myself adjust it to some good position.
Yep, that is definitely what we do. So I have more questions. Let's see. Are there benefits to taking classes in person instead of online? That is definitely a question we get all the time. And again, it depends. Our online courses are way more flexible. I don't know what certificate you're interested in pursuing, but at least most of our courses at this point are now offered online. I'll say it's the same curriculum. We don't, you know, have different online classes than we do in person. We use the same curriculum, and most of the time we have the same instructor teaching both kind of sections. It's more about like how you learn. Depending on what certificate you're in, like our editing courses are 3 days, so they're really intensive versus our online classes could be 5 to 6 weeks. So you get a lot more time to sit with the material. So like that's the main difference is between an online versus an in-person class. Sometimes the in-person classes are they're great because you get the in-person interaction. And if you learn better that way, like definitely go for it. But it might be a little bit intensive to kind of sit through a 3-day class when you're covering the material. that in an online class you might take, 6 or 7 weeks to cover. So, and definitely our online classes are built out a little bit more. We use Canvas. It's a learning management system for all of our courses, in person and online. The in-person courses aren't as built out because we have the in-person time to kind of talk through things, and usually we use it for like document sharing. But for the online classes, they're way more built out, and they have a lot of resources, and you get access to them for 6 months. So you can sit with the material, like, in the online courses, each unit is released every week. So you can't really work ahead, but you can really get and dig deep into the unit that you're working on. And then you have a live synchronous session hosted in Zoom. And then you go on to the next unit. So it just depends on how you learn. A lot of people like the in-person, but sometimes only because they're scared of the online option. And you definitely should not be scared of the online option. A lot of universities are moving to online, and we were one of the first to offer the online certificate options, at least at the university here. And they're really good options. We do curriculum design with them. They're really well designed. So I really like our online courses, but it's always a personal preference. Does anybody have any other questions? We're at time, but Tyron and I will stay on here about 5 to 10 more minutes in case you have like really specific questions you want to ask. I'm gonna stop the recording, but I will send out the recording after.